Hello and welcome to the Any Art Netty channel with the Nitty Kitties. So in this one I'm looking at the Winsor and Newton art markers, and this is pigment marker, and this is the specific paper that you use for those markers. Now looking at it, it's very thin, and I'm imagining if anyone's going to put their, see how thin that is, if anyone's, shadow puppets, if anyone's going to put that into a gallery, I'm wondering, is it going to be any good for that type of person? Because I've tried, see, that type of paper which is for your normal markers, but it doesn't work as well. Now that case belongs to this skin tone set, which I bought because I do like doing a lot of portraits, and now I use that for my charcoal. But I quite like them. There's something about them which is quite cool. But this is the 36 set, which has got some of them in, but not all of them. And you've got your typical red, orange, yellow, all those type of colours. Now I'm just going to open that up for you, and on the side you can see all the colours there. I shall put a swatch up on my Any Art Netty downloads page, should you want to see, and there'll be a description below for that if you want to see it. So now it's lovely packaging, the sponge on each, and if you see there's a tray with each one, so that's really cool, and they clip together just like, if you can see behind there, with all my alcohol markers on. So the difference between the alcohol markers behind there, they're mostly Spectrum Noir. I have got some Winsor and Newton Pro markers there as well. But these they act more like a paint than the alcohol marker. I shall show you some of the differences between the two. Now I've got a very special book there which I'm going to talk about further into the video, but I'm just putting them on there for now to hide that and keep that a bit of a mystery. So I've got some random art supplies there. I thought it would be interesting to see how these markers from Winsor and Newton react with these markers and with your normal, what I call normal alcohol markers. I've just got a Derwent fine liner there and a HB pencil, just a cheap one, nothing fancy, and I'm going to pick out a random colour. Now I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see your normal alcohol marker's got a chisel tip on one end, and then this one, the Spectrum Noir, has got that kind of small fine nib. Some of them you'll find that I've got brush markers on, and I'm just seeing how the liner shows through when you put a layer over the alcohol marker. I shall pick out a Pro marker from Winsor and Newton. And again, you can see a fine tip there. I should have picked something a bit more bold than that. But the other end again has a chisel tip. And this is just so you can see the difference between different types of markers. And there's a Copic, which is the expensive ones. I won that one in a competition. So you've got your chisel tip there, and you've got a brush. So that's your usual ones, and then you can see how they react with a liner there. I'll just show you. And on their own, they're very bold, aren't they? And they blend really well. So as for these, with the Winsor and Newton ones, which act more like a paint, you've got a chisel tip on one end and a very small nib on the other. So it doesn't work at all on just normal paper. Or I'm trying to find if there is any other paper, because I'm thinking specifically for people who want to keep it, and because it's such thin paper, see, it separates like an oil. I'm not sure if that's going to be for everyone, so there's got to be something that it'll work on for people who want to display the work. Maybe, I suppose you could stick it on a board. So I've picked out another alcohol marker there, and I'm going to draw out two shapes, one with this Spectrum Noir one, and specifically with these new I'll call them the new ones because they're new to me. it's got a white blender on. Now usually with alcohol markers you've got something called a blender, but it's not really a blender. I call it, see that? That's the Spectrum Noir one. And what I'd specifically use that for is if you go over the line of a drawing, you can use this almost like an eraser. There is other things you can use them for, but I think the word blender or clear blender is quite misleading for what it does. Now this shows up clear, but I'll show you in a minute. I'll do it with another marker there just so you can see, because Winsor & Newton Pro marker, I'm just going to draw another circle there, do a clear blender as well, which does pretty much the same thing. But there is other uses for blenders and I will make a video about that. So in this new one that acts more like paint, you see there's a white one, so that is completely different to anything I know using pens. So again, I'm just going to do a little mistake where it goes over the line, whoopsie, and the Winsor & Newton one there that I'm just showing you, that's the clear blender. Again, not really a blender because you wouldn't use it to blend. Alcohol markers, when you put two colours together, you'll saturate the paper and it will blend anyway because of the alcohol effect in it. So here is the white blender in this set, what we're looking at, the art markers, and it's got a chisel tip on it and it's got a small nib as well. So that is the white marker. We're just going to see how that works now. So it wouldn't do anything like your clear blender would do with your normal alcohol markers, but again, these aren't alcohol markers. That's what I thought they were at first, so I was surprised how they act more like paint. I think if you like working with oil paints, you will like working with these. If you're not into alcohol markers, I think that's the best way to describe it. So I've just got a sheet of that specific paper there for these markers, and I'm just using a scrap bit of the cover of the paper just to put underneath that in case there's any stuff that shows through. And I'm just going to swatch these skin tone sets out onto this paper. And I'm making sure I use the chisel tip so they're all pretty much the same. Now the one thing you'll notice with the difference with these and the alcohol markers is how much lighter they are. They're not as opaque as the alcohol markers. So that means once you start building up layers of these, you will see that you can layer on top of them and they will get darker, which is again another thing which makes them very similar to oil paints. But they do dry a lot quicker than, I'd say more like acrylic, but I tend to think of them more like a oil paint. So I'm using this white marker now again, and you can blend that out so you can get your shading for your skin tones where if you can imagine a light bulb on an object, you can imagine where the light's hitting, that's going to be where it's lightest, say usually on the nose and the middle of the forehead, and you'd use that to blend out from your darker to your lighter. So that, yeah, something I've never seen before with a pen set is a white pen. But then again, surprising because more like a paint than a pen. So we'll just see what that does. You can't see very well because of it being white paper. It'd be good if actually, I don't know if they have, but I'll look into it and I'll see if I can find anything in the description if they do a black paper, because that would be, and how it reacts with black paper would be quite quite cool. But other paper I've tested and trialled it with, it doesn't seem to work on anything apart from this. So I'm wondering maybe some glossy photo paper might be good. And the thing with that is as well, you have to clean these markers off as you use them, because otherwise you get a contamination from the different colours, especially on that white one. So you have to wipe that off, and I find you need a piece of that paper to be able to clean it off, which I think is maybe a bit of a waste, because that piece of paper you could have done a piece of art on it. But never mind, that's my grumbles with it. And obviously, there we go, so you can see that pink has blended out lovely there. And the difference between the opaque of the alcohol markers and how different and not as opaque these Winsor & Newton ones are. So, I'm just going to get that tester piece again. Bring that nearer to me. And we're going to get 3 different black liner pens. There's a Derwent, Pigma Micron, and a Posh Copic one that I won in a competition. So I'm just going to draw a line there again, just to see how the difference again between alcohol markers and these new ones works. So again, just draw a line there and line them up so you can see which one's which. I've got a light on there actually, so I think without that it looks so dark. So I have got studio lights I've got to put up. I've just moved house. So with that, I picked out the purple one from that new set there, and you'll be able to see in a sec how those liners, I showed you both sides, the small and the chisel, how much that liner shows through, to show you again it's nowhere near as opaque as an alcohol marker. And then I wanted to see as well, in case anyone needed it, how does a white gel pen show up on these? And the answer is yes, you can use a white gel pen and it looks quite good, you know, for your highlights. But yeah, that pen's nearly run out, it wasn't working, so good for me, I had a backup one. So that's good, yay. Thank goodness, always keep backups of white gel pens. So if you want to see any other tests with them, do let me know, and there might be a future one. If there's anything you think I've missed out and you want to see what it works like, please do let me know in the comments. So, there's a fantastic book which has come out, and this is a piece of artwork I've drawn, inspired by a certain TV show, which I absolutely love. And from a Heartbreak High fan group, there's 2 of the fans, specifically the lady who runs the group as well, is involved, and she got together with another fan and wrote a book, and this is it. And it's out on Amazon. I'll provide all the links in the description below. Just for the sake of telling you, I'm not sponsored or affiliated or anything like that. I'm a big fan, and I've seen the progress of this book, and they have worked so hard on this. And I think if you yourself are into the show, or you know someone who's a big fan, I think that would make a lovely Christmas present for someone. So yeah, Helen Heath and Ian Golden are the 2 people who wrote this. Ian, more specifically, is into series 1 to 4 more, he knows that one more, and Helen is more the Anita Drazic kind of period between 5 and 7. So we thought, well, based on our knowledge which series we love most, we should both do do it like that. So there's a bit about the authors there, that's Helen, and she tells you about how she got into the show and found it, and there's Ian there, the big sports fan. So you'll find he really knows, very knowledgeable at sport, and Helen is a beautiful writer as well, because she's previously wrote a book about Agnetha from Abba. So I'd recommend, I'll put a link in the description to that as well. I made an advert for this book for them to share, and I shall pop this in the video now for you to see. So this is a piece of artwork I did based on a photo you would have seen in that video of the gang from series 2, season 2, whatever you want to call it. So that was done in Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. So that's the kind of thing I'm used to, is using alcohol markers. But I decided, inspired by the book, that one kind of was as well, but inspired by this book coming out, I wanted to do a piece of art celebrating that. And two of the characters, should I say, that people know mostly are Anita and Drazic, and they feature on the cover. So I wanted to tell you a little backstory about how this kind of all happened and stuff like that in a nutshell. So when I was in high school, or kind of not in high school because I was always off sick, I'd be on the couch and flicking through channels on Sky. Now, when Mum and Dad were in work, I had the remote control all to myself, and I'm flicking through, and I'm in the UK, there's a channel called TCC, or Trouble, and then during the day, sometimes they'd have Heartbreak High on back to back to back to back. And the kind of, now I realise, and I'll come back to that in a minute, but that they were really snipped and maybe 15-minute bits and put like in weird sequences together, so it wasn't in order. I'd never watched it in order. So I kind of liked being off sick because I really liked this show, and I don't think many people in my year in school knew about it. So I go back talking about this Heartbreak High, and I had a pen pal in Australia as well. I'm not sure if she watched it or not, because I don't think, and maybe she did. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it to her in letters, have you seen this show? And then I went to college, and there was a lad in my class who was an Australian as well, and I tried not to say it. Oh, do you want Heartbreak High? And he actually, it was a mechanics course for motor vehicle, and I remember him saying, "Rack off, you mongrel." Oh, someone said it in real life, and I'd only ever heard it in Heartbreak High. Anyway, all these years go past, and there is a lockdown for a pandemic, for a pandoodles, and I'm thinking about all these old TV shows again, and the one that pops up is Heartbreak High, and I'm pumping it into YouTube, and there it is. All the series are there to watch, and I sat down and watched them over and over again, all 7 series, and I thought, well, if this is still on, available to watch on YouTube, it's got to be a fan group going maybe somewhere. And there was one on Facebook and Instagram, and it was run by the same lady who's one of the authors in this book, Helen. So I wanted to do some pieces of art about the show, and I messaged her and I said, I don't know if maybe, I wonder who the popular character is, and we decided between the two of us to maybe run a poll, and I was like trying to do it on my phone, and I was like, what's going on? It's not letting me do a poll for some reason. So she very kindly made the poll, and I don't know why it doesn't do it on my phone. I think it's a Huawei phone or so. So we did that, and then loads of people voted, and they decided on Drazic could be the first one. So I did them in the order what people voted for them, pretty much. And yeah, Drazic was the first one. Then people were really liking it, and I was enjoying being in this group, with like-minded people who like the same TV show. That's really cool. And then Helen started these watch parties, and this chap Ian pops up. I don't know how long he'd been in the group actually, and he said he'd gone on the set of the show and met some of the cast and stuff like that. So I think between the two of them they decided to write a book. And yeah, so Helen approached me about would she be able to use some of my art in the book, and I said yes. And I'm amazed, my art's in a book. I'm really shocked, and I won't show you which ones because buy the book. No, that's cheeky. And then they both asked me if I do help with the cover as well, and they seem to like it. And that's on the cover there. I'm really shy about that, sorry. Right, so, and yeah, so that's really cool, isn't it? And I had it in my head what it was going to look like, and I couldn't kind of figure it. So my partner, who I'll link you to his YouTube channel below, he knows digital computers more than I do, and he transformed what was in my head into the front of the cover, and it's fantastic to see it, and it's fantastic to finally hold all that work that Helen and Ian have worked really hard on, and to see it actually hold it, and well done to both of them. And if you're interested in the book, I shall leave you a link in the description there's a digital version and there's a paperback version. So well done Helen and Ian, give them a round of applause. And here we go. This is the piece of art that I did to celebrate the book. So I shall leave the advert again at the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed about those markers. Anything I missed or anything, please let me know down below, or anything you want to know, any questions. I'll leave all the information about the book down below as well. So I shall see you in the next video, and bye for now. Now, P.S. I wanted to tell you about the other artists' work that is in the book. I shall link you to all their Instagrams in the description below, because there's some fantastic work there as well. And check it out. Please do check out their Instagrams. They're absolutely extremely talented people. And again, I shall see you again soon. Bye for now.